Hey everybody, welcome to the Stuff You Can Do 2 channel, and today we're going to review this Craftsman 2700 PSI 2.1 GPM pressure washer. I ended up buying this because I just bought this house and there's a lot of green grime and just years of dirt on this retaining wall and these stairs on my deck here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over the features of the pressure washer, and I'm also going to go ahead and do some work with it and show you guys how well it works. So like I said before, this is a 2700 max PSI 2.1 max GPM pressure washer. Now what does that mean exactly? You don't actually have 2700 PSI and 2.1 gallons per minute at the same time. So don't let that, that kind of specification fool you into thinking that. What it actually is 2700 PSI at 1.8 GPM, 2500 PSI at 1.9 GPM, and 2000 PSI at 2.1 GPM. There's also a fourth tip that is for applying soap, which is essentially, non-pressurized, more than what your source pressure would be. So here's the hose and applicator gun and tips. They're all color-coded tips. So the white tip you see there is a 2000 PSI 2.1 GPM tip. The yellow is a 2500 PSI 1.9 GPM, and the red is the 2700 PSI 1.8 GPM. The black tip is the one I mentioned earlier. This is for applying soap, so it's not a high pressure tip at all. So it works nice to just go ahead and use to wet down your surfaces with any kind of soap that you want to use before you start. I also forgot to mention that the hose that they supply is 25 feet long. So overall, there's not much to it. It's basically an engine with a pump attached. They do supply a feed hose for the soap, but they don't supply the bottle, which I think is kind of weird. It's pretty annoying actually that you have to buy a bottle that they supply a lid to. Luckily I had one on hand that actually fit perfectly there. If you don't have one, you have to buy it from Sears. I think it's about $12 or $15. It's not a huge deal, but I would think that when you sell a product that is supposed to be able to do that certain feature of being able to have a soap reservoir, that you would actually supply the reservoir. Right now I think these are retailing for just under $300. The only reason I really bought this pressure washer is because I had a gift card for Sears and my local Sears store was closing, so I felt the need to go ahead and use it. So I went down there and picked up this particular model that they had on hand. I think I ended up paying just under $200 for it because of the gift card that I had. So I figured, hey, for that price it's worth a shot, see how it works and go from there. Starting is pretty simple. It's a standard pull cord. It does have an on and off switch right here. There's no need for a choke or anything like that. It's all automatic. It has this Briggs & Stratton just check and add engine that Briggs & Stratton seems to switch to. And when I say just check and add, I guess they mean that you don't ever have to change your oil. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that yet. One of those guys that's used to doing maintenance, and I have no problem spending the money for a quart of oil for a piece of equipment like this, so I may continue to do that. I'm interested to see everyone else's opinions on the just check and add feature of these new Briggs & Stratton engines. So if you have an opinion on that, put it in the comments below. I'm definitely interested to hear what you have to say about that. Alright, so I think we're ready to go ahead and try this thing out. One thing that's important to remember is you always want to connect your water supply and turn it on before you start the pressure washer. If you don't do something like that, you're probably going to damage the pump, so just keep that in mind. guys, so I'm all done with the stairs and the deck here. As you can see, the pressure washer did a really nice job of cleaning all this up. I'll do a little bit of before and after pictures at the end of the video just to get some side-by-side shots. But pretty much all of the dirt and grime from however many years of lack of maintenance and cleaning really came right off. So as a whole, the pressure washer does a really nice job, as you can see here. This area right here was especially bad. There was so much green stuff growing all over the deck, and it came right off. So I didn't get to the retaining wall today, but hopefully in another video here, maybe I'll do like a time lapse of that when I do this retaining wall. It has a lot of green stuff growing on it too. It just doesn't seem like this side of the house gets a whole lot of sun. It lets all this moss and other growth, just materialize all over the block and the composite decking and wood and all that stuff. So you can see I still have a lot left to do. But hopefully this gives you a really good idea of how well the Craftsman pressure washer can work. I did originally start off with the 2000 psi tip when I started to do the actual pressure cleaning. It didn't seem to really do that great of a job. The angle was great. It was actually perfect for covering one piece of the decking at one time, but it just really wasn't enough pressure to get all the stuff off. So I switched to the 2500 psi tip, and it did a much better job. I didn't really see a need to do the 2700 psi tip, and I just was afraid with the composite decking and stuff and even the wood that I would start to damage it with such a concentrated high pressure stream. So that's what I went with, and it did fine. Okay, so there you have it. At only a couple $100. Seems like this Craftsman 2700 psi pressure washer is a pretty good buy. Time will tell how long this thing will last, especially with this just check and add engine that Briggs & Stratton has on here. I'm not sure if I would adhere to that or not, or if I would just go ahead and change oil. I think I'll have a hard time not changing oil on it, so most likely I'll just do that. But we'll see as time goes on how long the pump and other components last, but so far so good. Thanks for watching.